Welcome to the show. It's Tuesday. Glad to have you with us here today, along with Trevor Trowbridge. I am Sean Stires. It's a beautiful day outside once again, and we're getting ever so closer to Notre Dame and USC. Trevor, like we talk about this game as a rivalry, obviously, and it's been played for, going on 100 years at this point. Like, when it comes to Notre Dame, does this get your juices flowing as much as anything, like maybe with the exception of just the season opener because we've been waiting so long? Like, how fired up does Notre Dame USC get you?
Oh, I get absolutely juiced, man. I mean, absolutely juiced. Look, Notre Dame has very, very few rivalries anymore where it's just that traditional, they don't like us, we don't like them type of games. And as cool as all the tradition is at Notre Dame, I don't want every single rival to be, hey, let's shake hands after the game and sing each other's alma mater. There is a facet of
Some would prefer it if you never sung each other's alma mater, right?
Hey, that's just me, but I do enjoy the facet, because think about some of the best rivalries in college football. People talk about the game, Michigan, Ohio State, at the Iron Bowl, Alabama, Auburn. You got the Red River Shootout that we just watched.
They're not singing each other's alma maters at the end of the game.
No. A rivalry to me means more than just you played a lot. There's something to it. The fan bases are into it. With all due respect to some of Notre Dame's previous rivals, I mean, not that I don't know if I've ever met a Boston College football fan. I know some people say that it's a big rivalry, but I guess I'll find out. I'm going out to cover the game in November. So I'll get to meet
a lot of Irish Catholics out there in Boston. I think that has a lot to do with it, and stepchild and the whole thing. But
very true.
Yeah. I was actually I saw something. I don't know where this came from, but someone on one of the social media platforms was really disappointed in what's going on out there at Boston College, just in terms of, it's alumni stadium. It's never been, I don't think, a great football environment and that whole thing. Whenever Notre Dame comes to town, I think that's probably the best environment that you're going to get. But they were complaining just about everything from the video board and, just the game day presentation and the whole thing. It's been several years since I've been out there. I think it was either 2012 or 2013. I covered the only game that I've covered out there. I doubt the press box has probably changed too much. I doubt the stadium has changed too much. It's just kind of, they play football there. That kind of thing.
Jeez, man, you got me thinking I'm going to be covering this game by candlelight on November.
The city of Boston is great. Go explore a little bit. If you're not planning on going a little bit early, go do that. My wife came out with me to that game. We did a Fenway Park tour, and we did some other stuff, around the city the day before and that kind of thing. And, that's pretty cool, but I don't know. I don't want to tamp the brakes on your anticipation, because I know you're looking forward to go. Boston is cool. I can't say that enough. Boston's cool. Legal seafood. Go get a little clam chowder, that kind of thing.
Okay. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
Now we're talking. Wicked smart.
There you go. Today is Shamrock Up, Shamrock Down day. It's at least among the hosts, it's become, I think, one of our favorite shows of the week. We get to do a little stock up, stock down for Notre Dame football. And I think it was Joe. I'm 99% sure it was Joe who gave us the new rating system last week. If your Shamrock has 4 leaves, 4-leaf clover, I like that. How many leaves do you give them? 1, 2, 3, 4. You can give a half leaf, I think, as well. I kind of like that rating system. When we do this Shamrock Up, Shamrock Down, I'm for that. If you're for that, if we want to try to start adhering to that a little bit.
Listen, Sean, you tell me to jump, I'll ask how high. Let's do this thing, man.
All right. Now, while I'm thinking about it, we did a harbor tour as well. Out on the boat, Boston. You did. And, they went out a lot of cool stuff, obviously Revolutionary War type stuff and, all that kind of stuff that took place. Highly recommend if you have some extra time while you're out there.
For sure.
That was the best part of the Boston experience for me. Okay, so we're going to do stock up, stock down. And I thought that I want to start with something today that's not directly Notre Dame, but it's at the very least Notre Dame adjacent because of the way the last couple of games have gone. The state of college football officiating, Trevor, has the stock for college football officiating ever been as low as it is right now?
I mean, if we're going with this Clover ranking, I'm plucking the Clover out and I'm throwing it in the garbage.
You got a stem.
Yeah, I mean, it's been absolutely disgusting. I mean, not just the Notre Dame NC State game or the Notre Dame Boise State game. Did you see Kirby Smart basically get away with cheating?
Oh, I know. Like, it's just crazy.
Yeah. I mean, goodness gracious. Like he's on the sideline, runs up to the ref, says timeout, going like this, and then throws a hissy fit because he's like, no, I was clapping my hands. And the refs were like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never seen, and it's across all college football. The stock is way, 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 way down.
I agree. And it's just amazing how far it's sunk. And I think that, we watch these games on TV every week, so you get a pretty wide swath of what's going on in the game. Like you said, that game there, and there was obviously there was some controversy, just in terms of the Georgia-Auburn game itself. And we sat here last week when we were doing stock up, stock down, and we talked about the 24 combined accepted penalties in the Notre Dame Boise State game. And then last week's game, the NC State game, same conference, ACC officiating crew, and they said, hold my beer. We're gonna show you just how jacked up this whole thing is. And go ahead. You look like you were ready to say something.
Yeah, here's my quaffle with this. I'm trying to expand my vocabulary. But here's the issue that I have with this. Thank you. Why have the guy in the booth, on the NBC broadcasting team's like, all right, now we're going to pass it over to, Mike Pereira or whoever.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't see this happening. This is an incomplete pass. And then it's not ruled out. What's the point of that guy? It's strictly for broadcasting purposes. Like you're sending it to the booth, you're sending it back to New York, but obviously not to a former head official. So I don't understand what the point of that guy is. But the NC State game, I've never seen something more egregious than that reception called for NC State. That was crazy.
And when Vince and I were talking about it yesterday, I thought that picking up the flag on the pass interference was worse. And now some people have pointed out, and it's probably true, that I think Malachi Fields stepped out of bounds, which negates the pass interference because he is an ineligible receiver, I guess, at that point. But to the point of the officiating, announce that when you throw a flag in the end zone, especially regardless of where it is, but you're at Notre Dame and that call was going to go against NC State and it's in the end zone and there's an interception and the whole thing. If you're going to pick up the flag, tell everybody why you're picking up the flag. If Malachi Fields was out of bounds and that therefore negates the pass interference call, tell everybody that. The receiver was out of bounds, therefore he was an ineligible receiver, so there is no pass interference. That's literally all you have to say. That took all of 3 seconds? Just say that. Let everybody know. Give some clarity to it. And that's part of the problem with this officiating crews is there is no clarity on most of this. And, to your point about, the replay booth, we have seen on these games on ESPN where they are taking people inside the replay booth for these ACC conference games. That needs to become mandatory, I think. There needs to be, just more light shed upon what they're actually discussing during the review of these calls. Shed some light on it. Don't keep us in the dark, and don't make it like, if you want to take away conspiracy theories, take away the path to conspiracy. Shed more light on what's actually going on. Lend more clarity to it.
Agreed. One of two things need to happen. That or referees need to be held accountable. There's no accountability for if they blow a call, get a call wrong. There's no fining system. There's nothing like that. I think at the bare minimum, refs should have to do a post press conference like teams do. and they need to be able to sit in front of the media and they get to ask some questions about, hey, what did you see on this call? What was the rationale behind this? Just so there's some sort of exposure that goes into it. It's, you can't go into a game, call 24 combined accepted penalties for 224 yards, and then jog back out and then get into your car and drive home for the day. That's just like, referees are one of the only professions that you can just consistently do your job poorly and there's essentially no repercussions. The only repercussions for referees if they get caught betting on games. You can botch calls all you want to, and then they'll just roll you back out. Sometimes, if you have like a streak of bad games, they'll have you do like the noon game between like North Carolina and Kennesaw State, A&M, Abilene Christian Northern. And then the next week you're doing Alabama, Tennessee. There's no justice to it.
No, exactly. And we were talking about this a little bit yesterday, and I think that there should always, at the end of every game, whoever the crew chief is for the officiating crew should have to do a press conference, mandatory 10-minute press conference. If it doesn't go 10 minutes, it doesn't go 10 minutes. But if there are reporters there who want to ask questions, minimal 10 minutes, I think you should have to stand there in front of the cameras and the microphones and answer the questions. The head coaches have to answer to things that happen on the field. The players have to answer to what's going on the field. The guys who are determining, in many cases, the outcomes of these games with some of these questionable calls should be made to stand and answer for them after every game, I think.
Agreed. There just has to be some level of accountability.
Yeah.
Like I've seen people say in the chat, it's like, oh, they get fired if they're wrong. I haven't seen an official get fired for anything outside of getting caught betting on games or choosing to step away.
Yeah. Worst case scenario, they might be suspended for a week. Their crew might not work a game for a week, and then they'll be right back because there's a shortage of officials, and that's like when I was doing Notre Dame baseball games on the radio, there was a particular umpire who would work a lot of Notre Dame games, and he was pretty borderline when it came, like in terms of when he was doing a college game. A few years later, when I'm coaching high school baseball, he was also doing a lot of high school baseball games. He was far and away the best high school umpire we ever had. So you can see the disparity, the best high school umpire versus middling college umpire moving up a level. You could tell the disparity, and there's a shortage across the nation in terms of the, quality umpires, officials, whatever, for every sport.
Agreed completely. Something's got to change though, because it's getting bad.
Good for you, Marcus Tenman. I'm happy for you, by the way, in the YouTube chat. So let's get more specific to Notre Dame. Did anyone or anything's stock fall in Saturday's win over NC State?
Gosh. Stock down, red zone play calling. Probably one of my stock downs for the week.
How many Leafs you giving it?
Oh gosh, probably 1.5, 2. No,
yeah, I think red zone play calling, and obviously on top of that, the deeper they got into the red zone, as it turned into these short yardage situations / fourth down situations and that kind of thing. It was somewhat baffling, I think, what we saw.
The run game lacked creativity. That was questionable. I don't really understand running sprint outs to the short side of the field. I've never really understood that personally. It's kind of like when teams run tosses to the short side of the field. Also don't understand that either. The red zone play calling is stock down for me for sure.
Yeah. And, on top of that, I would say Marcus Freeman's decisions to go for it on fourth down in a lot of these short yardage situations, I have to put his stock down for that. I'm going to play a cut for Marcus Freeman. about that. Let me see if I can find it here real quickly. Here it is. So Marcus Freeman was asked at his press conference on Monday if he would change his fourth down mindset considering the results so far after going 1 for 3 on fourth downs against the Wolfpack.
Going for it on fourth down is something that, I have conviction in doing in certain situations. Some will determine based off maybe our kicker, some's based off the analytics. But we got to continue to gain conviction in me from our offense. And that's why we spent some time talking about our short yardage plan and, our goal line situation plan, is because we have to continue. I don't want to lose confidence in going for it on fourth down. That's something I believe in the right situation. So I don't want to pull back there. I want to say let's enhance our plan so that we have a better percentage of converting. Confidence in Dallas.
There we go. Pull that out of there. I accidentally swapped one in. So again, stock down for fourth down. Trevor, Notre Dame is just 5 of 14 on fourth down conversions this year. That's only 35%, or they're converting at a rate less than half of what they did last year. They're 5 of 14 on fourth downs right now. Last year, they were 22 of 30. 73% is where they were last year. And it just doesn't feel like Marcus Freeman, you obviously don't have Riley Leonard anymore. And he was a big part of their fourth down success last year. And I understand that you want to have the aggressive mindset to keep going for it, but it just doesn't feel like they've got the personnel to pull that kind of thing off anymore.
I just don't think they've explored enough options in converting fourth down. Not everything has to be an inside run. And I think that they're looking for new ways to try to replace that Riley Leonard short. To your point, it's almost, I think that's why they went to the Wildcat. Right. Honestly, because they're trying to find some sort of solution to replace Riley Leonard in those short down and distance scenarios. And you're just not going to have that. So play to the strengths of your offense. Again, I talked about it on the show last week. Get Ty Washington involved in the pass game. Notre Dame ran 12 personnel like 12 times against NC State. They ran out of it 11 times. And Ty Washington was not involved in the passing scheme in the one time they decided to pass out of it. It's just becoming too predictable. You have to get more creative down there.
No, that's it. I think the play, as you said, you started off talking about the play calling. Then, like I said, just the fourth down and the Wildcat package is not working. I gave stock down to the Wildcat last week. So I would give for fourth, the only conversion that they had on fourth down, they were 1 of 3 last week, was the Tyler Buckner fake punt. I mean, that was great. And it was so great. Now you've got people saying, well, why not just put Tyler Buckner on the field for fourth down? And I mean, considering the success of everything else they've tried so far, it's not the most far-fetched idea at this point.
Yeah, I mean, and since Arkansas, they've only had 3 successful fourth down conversions. 2 of them have been fake punts. One of them was the Tyler Buckner run against NC State. The other one was the Jordan Faison reverse pass to Malachi Fields. And so you got to find more effective ways to do that. I don't love the idea of them blowing through all these special team trick plays against NC State and Arkansas in a game, and the Arkansas game in a game that was already like 42-13. Right. So
NC State, they needed it though. They needed something to get them kick-started because it was still a 10-7 game.
Sure.
So in that case, I don't mind. I get what you're saying about Arkansas, but in terms of the Tyler Buckner play, they needed that Buckner play to give them some kind of spark because they had gone 3 and out on their first possession of the second half. It's looking like they're about to punt once again. Yep. They're at their own 38-yard line, and then boom, they got a spark. They go down. They end up getting, their second touchdown of the game, and things really kind of started rolling from there.
Oh, that's a good point. They needed the jump start.
So I've unfortunately got to give a stock down to Jadarian Price this week. And it's not because of his running of the football. It's because of, we're talking about the red zone. You fumble deep in the red zone. You're about to go into the end zone. And so I've got to give a stock down to Price because of that fumble. Because that's both of his fumbles this year, he was fortunate the first time that CJ Carr was able to, get the ball right back. Now, in this case, very fortunate that NC State gave the ball right back in terms of the safety, right after that. But that's 2 deep red zone fumbles for Jadarian Price. So we've got to ding his stock, I think, a little bit. His Shamrocks have to go down for that one, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I think that's fair. What would you put it on, I guess, the Clover scale? What's his stock at now?
Like if am I doing his stock for the entire season still? Or like, is that, or like, which way are we swinging the Clovers on this?
I guess,
is this how much am I knocking him, or how much stock does he still have?
I guess, how much does he still have?
I'd still give him probably 3.5 out of 4 stars. You just got to have better ball security, because he's great otherwise when he's running the ball and doing everything that he's doing. You got to have better ball security, though, especially, again, that deep in the red zone. You're about to score a touchdown. You got to protect the ball better.
Agreed.
So he has fumbled twice, and Freeman was asked if they'll sit down and kind of have a conversation with him about the importance of securing the ball. And here's what Marcus Freeman said about that.
Absolutely not. We don't sit and say, hey, don't fumble. Like, that doesn't work. You identify what happened. You fumbled, why did it happen? There's a reason why it happened, and then you attack it. All right, that's how you fix the issue. You don't say, don't do it anymore, like you do your kid. Don't do it. No, why did it happen? JD, we're going to watch to see, why did this happen? It's cause and effect. And then we're going to attack it in practice. And we're going to drill it. And we're going to do it so much that hopefully you don't do it again. But if you do, then we got to continue to drill it, right? And to practice it so much that it doesn't happen. And so things don't happen by chance. We gotta continue to work that and make sure that we're intentional about stripping the ball out in practice and making sure our ball security is at a premium, because we can't turn the ball over in crucial situations like that.
Yeah, I mean, I doubt, like, don't do that. Like, Jadarian Price knows the importance of ball security. The key is, why has he fumbled twice at this point, especially in the red zone? How are you securing the ball? That's what you've got to look at. Like, this is, a little bit of higher and tighter, I guess, closer to your body. It's like the Phillies pitcher last week who threw the ball away at the plate when the Dodgers won that series. Like, you don't have to tell him about the bad mechanics he had on the throw. He knows that he had bad mechanics. He was standing there throwing across his body, didn't move his feet, and the whole thing, like, you don't have to tell him that. He knows probably why it happened. You just need to work on making sure that it doesn't happen, and what you can do better going forward now.
Oh yeah. I first of all, I love that answer by Marcus Freeman. That's such a football coach's answer. It's like, no, we're not going to sit him down and say, hey, don't do that again. Jadarian Price is a redshirt junior, and if there's anybody on a long list of people or players that don't need told that fumbling is bad, Jadarian Price is at the top of that list. He's probably more disappointed than anybody.
I want to make sure that, people aren't misunderstanding me, because, Bernie is saying Price stock is way up. If these teams are trying to strip the ball from Price instead of tackling him, Price is going to be a touchdown machine. Well, you can't be a touchdown machine if you don't hold on to the ball. Jadarian Price, as I said, still has a very good stock. If again, we're doing the Shamrock rating system. So if you're going Leafs, I still gave him 3+ Leafs out of 4, but you have to knock him for fumbling the ball at the 1-yard line. Like, and that's the second time again that he's fumbled. So like, he's still great when he's running the ball. He's great, but you got to hold on to the football, especially that deep in the red zone.
Yeah, 100%.
We'll take a timeout. When we come back, more Shamrock Up, Shamrock Down for Notre Dame football. We've hit some of the lows. We'll hit some of the highs when we return with Trevor Trowbridge, Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stires, Trevor Trowbridge with you on this Tuesday. Little Shamrock Up, Shamrock Down. We've got Notre Dame and Southern Cal coming up this Saturday, 7:30 primetime kickoff at Notre Dame Stadium. You'll hear the call here on Sports Radio WSBT and the Notre Dame Radio Network, including the Odyssey app, AUDACY. Coverage here on WSBT begins at 3 o'clock, 3 to 6:30 Eastern Time. Tim Ground, Jimmy Rosari, Eric Hansen, Tyler Horka, and other great guests will be there. And I am told former Notre Dame safety Matthias Farley and former Notre Dame linebacker Carlo Calabrese, I can't even remember how to say his name now. He will be there. New Jersey's very own Carlo. He will be there at the linebacker this Saturday. So we've got that to look forward to.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Absolutely. So that's coming up this Saturday, game day coverage right here on Sports Radio WSBT. Okay, Trevor, do you have any other Shamrock Downs to get to before we get into the Shamrock Ups?
Downs, no. I'm ready to talk some positives, man.
Okay. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm ready as well. The defense keeps stacking up good performances. If our Shamrocks, again, if they have 4 leaves, 4-leaf clovers, how many Shamrock leaves, how many clovers are you giving to Chris Ash for the defensive performance last week?
And we're talking just for the NC State game?
I mean, it can be a continuation as well, because I feel like his stock has been building these last few weeks.
I'm going to give it, okay, I'll give you 2. For the NC State game specifically, that's a 4 Shamrock performance. Just for the NC State game. Season long, I'm at about somewhere in between like a 2.5, 3 leaves on the clover. I still have a little bit of PTSD from what happened against Miami and Texas A&M in the first half against Purdue. But since then, a switch has flipped, and this defense has really turned it around. I mean, they haven't allowed a single point in the second half in their last 3 games. It's impressive.
Yeah, this is interesting. Joe is saying, are we talking about each half? I guess I get what you're leading to, Joe, but they still only gave up 1 touchdown in the first half. Granted, a busted – that was – really, it's more on Dallas Golden. And I debated on, do I give Dallas Golden a Shamrock Down? I think you've got to knock him a little bit, but he is also a very talented, true freshman who was forced into action because of the fact that you don't have Devontae Smith. And I mean, NC State still had more 3-and-outs than touchdowns in the first half. And I mean, they had more 3-and-outs in the game than they had touchdowns. So, even if I'm splitting first half, second half for Chris Ash, they only gave up 7 points in the first half, 7 points for the game. It was a very good defensive performance all the way around. So, if I'm going NC State game specific, I'd give him 4 stars for that. I agree with what you're saying, probably 2.5 for the entire season. But if I go back to the Arkansas game, we're probably pushing 3.75 Leafs that we're giving him out of 4. The trend is really good for Chris Ash right now.
Oh, I agree. I mean, look, at the end of the day, people can be unhappy with it. They want all they want. And I'm not saying that that's you, Joe. I'm not saying that at all. But we're talking about an offense that entered that game averaging 33.8 points per game. Notre Dame's defense held them to 7. They averaged 447 total yards of offense per game. Notre Dame held them to 233. They averaged 6.7 yards per play. Notre Dame held them to 3.9. I mean, Hollywood Smothers had a bunch of 100-yard games on the season before he played Notre Dame's defense. And
160-plus once.
Yeah. I mean,
he did nothing. Zilch.
No.
Nada. And that was an emphasis Marcus Freeman talked about as well, like making sure, taking away those cutback lanes, making sure their pursuit was right, not over-pursuing, over-rushing on CJ Bailey. And when you had 2 threats like that out of the backfield, again, it was a 7-7 game into the waning moments of the first half, and then you get a field goal from Notre Dame to make it 10-7 at halftime. NC State was trying to run the football. They couldn't run the football with, as you said, a running back who had over 600 yards going into that game and averaging almost 7 yards a carry going into the game. And He has more 100-yard games than Jeremiah Love has this year. Why do I do that? I think a lot of people do that with the Jeremiahs, for Love and Smith for some reason. There's no reason I should, but I just did it. So my apologies.
I get it. I now spell every person named Jeremiah with a Y.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
even if autocorrect still tries to change it every time I spell it that way. Yeah, but like NC State didn't get into Notre Dame territory in the second half until late in the fourth quarter. Notre Dame's defense, I ran through this yesterday. They held NC State 27 points under their scoring average, Boise State 32 under their scoring average, Arkansas 28 under their scoring average. The last two games now, Notre Dame's defense has 8 sacks and 7 interceptions against Boise State and NC State. It's a defense going in the right direction. So big stock up. Is Ash you have as the biggest stock up for Notre Dame out of this game? Or do you have somebody else or something else?
On defense, I don't have one particular person. I think it's just like the defense as a whole stock is up because there's still a lot of question around, okay, yes, it's Chris Ash's unit, but how much, what is the role of the other coaches in this? You know what I mean? Like, what is Mike Mickens' role in this? Because all I know is I've watched the secondary look like a completely different unit really after the first drive of the Arkansas game.
Right.
So what role does Mike Mickens have in that? What role does Max Bulla have in that with the linebackers being turned loose the last couple of weeks? So I'm just going to put it as defense as a whole. Chris Ash is included in that. Individual player. I mean,
it's still tough because I think we all think that there are other hands that are involved in that, but Chris Ash is still the guy calling the defense at the very least. Like he's the guy calling it. He might have a lot of extra input on, the direction of the defense and how the head coach maybe wants things called, but he's still the guy who's calling it out there on Saturdays.
That's fair. No, that's very true.
Go ahead. I cut you off there as you were about to say somebody else.
No, you're good. I mean, I was going to say like individual players, like Boubacar's stock continues to rise for me. He's becoming a very key piece in Notre Dame's pass rush, and then both linebacker Drake Bowen's stock is up as well. That he was playing like a dude.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously that hit kind of was the exclamation point that he had for Drake Bowen. That's a good one. I think his stock continues to rise after it had really taken some hits early in the season. But again, not a coincidence. The kind of defense that they're calling now. The philosophy of the defense is a lot different. Boubacar is on my list as well. I mean, he looked ticked off when he was talking with the media after the game. And, I hope he stays in that headspace because he's on pace for about 12 sacks now after 2 sacks the other day. It just feels like it's really clicking for Boubacar now.
Well, hey, you and I called it, man. Not to say that we're Nostradamus, but in rapid fire last week, we talked about what are the chances Boubacar ends with over 10 sacks. And we were talking about, hey, NC State could be the game that he breaks out.
That's right.
Just saying.
Got 2. He got multiples out there. We were talking about the nickel and Dallas Golden. DJ asking in the YouTube chat if Marcus Freeman addressed the Devontae Smith injury. That did not come up at his press conference Monday. Really, the only injuries that came up were the season-ending injury to Ashton Craig. And then I asked him about an update on Charles Jagasaw, and he gave an update on that. And I don't think there were any other injuries that came up. Smith is still on the injury report this week. He is listed as questionable, which is better than doubtful or out. So there's a chance he'll play. They really need him, I think, though, this week, don't you?
This is the game that makes me a little bit nervous. I have a lot of confidence in Dallas Golden, but at the end of the day, he's still a true freshman. And he's going to make some true freshman mistakes. And Notre Dame is gearing up to go against the best slot receiver that they're going to face, and arguably one of the best slot receivers in the country in Mekhi Lemon. I don't know if I just still have a little bit of PTSD from the nickel corner's performance in the first 2 games. But, yeah, Devontae Smith, if he can play, he's got to go.
Yeah, they really They were, because again, look at where NC State's touchdown came from last week. They went right at Dallas Golden, and now they were able to kind of shore things up. It wasn't an issue after that. You didn't just see a bunch of busted plays, but to have success against USC, I think Devontae Smith is a near must-have this week.
Yeah, and with all due respect to that NC State receiver that caught that touchdown, he's not Mekhi Lemon.
No, not even close. Not even close. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll have some more Shamrock Ups for Notre Dame coming out of the North Carolina State game and heading into this week's game against USC. It's on the way. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues with Trevor Trowbridge, Sean Stires, Shamrock Up, Shamrock Down day. A little stock check for Notre Dame football we've been doing in the first hour. Bobby Hensley is going to join us for the second hour for Rapid Fire. Coming up in a little bit here tonight, there were a few. Marcus Tenman, thank you for the super chat, sir. He said Irish will crush Southern Cal. Very confident in a crushing coming up this week. Marcus also wants to know if Jesse is still in the hot tub. Needs a full report. Haven't heard from Jesse today. He jumped in the chat yesterday in a hot tub in France. So he got a little time off from the new bride, I guess, to listen to some sports and sit in the hot tub and do a little champagne. So good for him.
Jeez, rub it in, guy. What is it? Your honeymoon?
I know, seriously, right? So talking about the nickel thing and who's going to cover Makai Lemon for USC this week, Josh says, thought he saw an article, Freeman, talking about the possibility of putting Leonard Moore on Lemon. That was, like he said, that is a possibility. I don't think he was going to give away the game plan on Monday for exactly how they're going to defend Makai Lemon, but it sounded like at least like you wouldn't see more on Lemon specifically for the whole game, like dedicated to Lemon for the whole game, but could be, maybe in some key type situations where you could see a rotation there. But again, I also think it depends in part on the health of Devontae Smith and what exactly they decide to do.
Yeah, the unfortunate side about guarding an offense and defending an offense like USC's is you're kind of just in a spot where if you take Leonard Moore away from one area, that also leaves a vacant area. They're going to need other players to step up too. To your point about Devontae Smith and Christian Gray, I do think, though, if it's one of those situations where Makai Lemon is kind of just putting in work against the nickel, I do think they're going to make the switch and put Leonard Moore on him.
You think full-time they would?
Depending on when it happens in the game, I just hope it's not something like – I'm hoping it's not a situation where, Mario Craver was eating that defense alive, and then for the last drive of the game, they put Leonard Moore on Mario Craver.
Right.
I could see it being a halftime adjustment if Makai Lemon starts going crazy in the first half.
Yeah, exactly. But again, not that Devontae Smith is a total eraser, but he's far and away the best true nickel option that this team has right now. And like when he was against Arkansas a couple of weeks ago, there was a noticeable difference when Devontae Smith was on the field, just in terms of what he's able to do. Now, again, big step up with USC because of the quarterback and his passing ability, as well as the receivers that USC has, including Lemon. But it's not just going to be Makai and Lemon. I mean, we know USC has a history of having very good quarterbacks and very good wide receivers, and Lincoln Riley, is going to do his best to try to scheme those guys open. So it's going to be a really good matchup, just like last year was a really good matchup. But you're going to need every healthy guy that you have to go with them toe-to-toe, play after play.
Yeah, agreed. Breaking news, USC has an exciting offense.
Yes. All right, a few more Shamrock ups. We hit Boubacar Traore. I put Noah Burnett on my Shamrock Up this week, and I think it was, like to come in when the game, like end of the first half, and a guy who's had a hip injury for basically the last month now at this point, to be able to come in, not that it was the longest field goal in the world, and he just got enough to squib that right across that crossbar there. But to have a hip injury and to be able to come in and give Notre Dame a boost like that going into the locker room, I think was really big. So for, just for that itself and making all of his extra points for the NC State game specifically, coming out of injury, being questionable all week, I'll give him 3 out of 4 clovers on my Shamrock for that, Noah Burnett.
Yeah, I like that pick. Here's what I want to know. Marcus Freeman said at the start of the week that Eric Schmidt would handle the longer field goals.
Right.
What length of field goals were you thinking you were going to be attempting in this game?
I think he had to be like right on the cutoff for what they were confident with him. Burnett, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. The replay of the field goal at the end of the half. I mean, it was maybe past the the bottom of the upright.
I thought it was going to hit that crossbar the way it was looking.
Yeah.
Like, is it going to hit? Is it going to bounce off? Is it going to bounce in? What's it going to do? He made it, though. So that's, again, I think you got to give him some Shamrock Up for that.
I agree. I like that pick.
I have CJ Carr on my Shamrock Up list as well. I mean, he had his off game against Boise State. And like we said last week, it wasn't a horrible game by any means. But the game that we saw from CJ Carr was a really big bounce back against NC State last week. When you look at the 342 yards, he did throw the interception. It was fourth down, so he had to do something with the ball. But, like to your point about the play calling, if we go back to that, what's up with the rollout by the quarterback and you give him one option to throw to in the back of the end zone? All you gave him was Malachi Fields. You gave him nothing underneath to try to throw to as a safety valve. And it's like, what are you doing? I don't get the play design in that case.
Yeah, there's been almost this, I don't know what you want to call it, like this epidemic of offensive coordinators trying to prove that they're the smartest guy in the room. And sometimes when Marcus Freeman gets asked about it, he kind of alludes to that in that, we think that we're going to get a certain look based on this certain look, but then they adjust. So then we tried to adjust and then they did something different than what we thought they were going to do. And it's like, hey, maybe just don't roll out to the short side of the field and give CJ Carr just one more additional option. And it's also really hard for CJ to become a runner when you roll out to the short side of the field.
Exactly.
You're limiting his playmaking ability. So overall, I think it was just a really bad play call.
Joe also wants to know if Tyler Buckner's Shamrock goes up after his run on the fake punt. Absolutely. I mean,
sure.
You take for granted the extra point holds and the field goal holds, and unfortunately, he has the most high profile, drop snap of the season. But that was the only fourth down they converted when he had that fake punt. So I think you got to put his Shamrock up a little bit. Robin says Eli Raridan, 4 Clovers, and I would throw Will Pauling in there as well. Both of them had great games. First time that Notre Dame had a pair of 100-yard receivers in like 6 or 7 years. I had the dates originally.
Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl was
there. You go. Right? Yeah, so not quite 6, but 5. That's right. Oklahoma State in the Fiesta Bowl. There you go. I'm glad you rescued me with that one.
I got your back, dog.
All right, that's going to do it for hour number 1 of the show. We've got some rapid fire coming up in hour number 2. I wanted to make sure I didn't miss, because I kind of made a list of some of my ups and my downs here. I think we got them all. Did you have any other stock ups, Trevor, that we missed?
No, I was getting ready to talk about Eli Raridan. I mean, he showed out, to the surprise of nobody that follows the Irish Breakdown channel. I got to find some time to talk about tight ends. But Eli Raridan, he had the best game of his career so far. He's showing that he can be a complementary weapon in this offense. I mean, he's shown he could be a primary weapon in this offense. It was a good game to watch him go off.
Absolutely. So, so big stock up, big Shamrock up for Eli Raridan, a 4 for the game. Will Pauling, a 4 for the game. And Will Pauling, Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison are the only Notre Dame wide receivers with 100-yard receiving games in the post-Chase Claypool era of Notre Dame football.
Woof.
Woof, woof. That's right.
Well,
I mean, that's where you are.
But here's hoping that trend continues.
I think we're going to continue to see a lot more with CJ Carr pulling the trigger now.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yes. All right, that's it for hour number 1, rapid fire. Hour number 2, we've got plenty of Notre Dame football conversation, some other college football coaching stuff. We got a little Notre Dame women's basketball news coming up today as well. That's all coming up. Rapid fire, hour number 2, Budweiser's weekday sports beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It's hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Sean Stires, Trevor Trowbridge, and Bobby Hensley joins the Madhouse with us here as well.
Any house with you is a madhouse.
Here we go.
Good to see you, though, Trevor.
Here we go.
Bobby, it's always good to see you, brother. How you doing?
Doing all right. How about you? You just had an hour with Sean, right? That's got to be brutal.
Nah, man, it was great. Hey, I'm just here for good vibes. It's rivalry week, but I am happy to see you, though, Bobby. That sweatshirt brings out the color in your eyes.
Oh, wow. I'll just keep them closed then.
Everyone's fired up about rapid fire time. Fill in the blank. The importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is blank.
I mean, it can't be expressed enough. We talked about it on the Irish Breakdown show earlier today. I grew up with this rivalry, as did pretty much every other Notre Dame fan who's been watching this team since 1926. Yeah, I mean, this rivalry is, when you think of college football,
how many people are still around who were watching this in 1926.
Probably none on the podcast.
Any YouTube
viewers? Yeah. Probably nobody right now. But
I cut you off. Continue.
No, you're good. I mean, when you think of college football rivalries, this is, I guarantee, for a lot of people, one of the first 5 games that they talk about. You know, they probably talk about Michigan, Ohio State. They talk about the Iron Bowl. They talk about the Red River Shootout. You talk about Notre Dame USC. It's the greatest intersectional rivalry in sports. I mean, it means a lot. They've played in so many great games over the years with championship implications. And even, look, it's one of the few rivalries that Notre Dame has where you throw out resume, your record coming into the game. It just doesn't matter. It's always high stakes when these two teams square off. It is so important to college football.
So like you say to college football, so the intersectional part's what's key, right? Because that's when Notre Dame would get on the train, go out to California and play. It's bigger. Would you say it's bigger than the Michigan rivalry?
Yes.
Than the Notre Dame Michigan rivalry?
Yes.
If Notre Dame Michigan were being played every year, that would be one thing, but it's not.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. After the 2019 game, I looked and Notre Dame doesn't play Michigan again in the regular season until 2033. It stinks, but the fact that the Notre Dame USC rivalry is about to go away is something I'm genuinely upset about. The Michigan one was just kind of like, that kind of stinks.
Well, I guess the Michigan one, we're kind of used to that, aren't we? Like, what's the longest stretch that they've played each other? There's not, enough data points in their rivalry even.
Well, in the early 2000s, they were basically playing each other every year. For a long time, they were playing each other every year. And I think that's why this one is so important, because especially for Notre Dame, all those other rivalries have been discontinued. You used to have Notre Dame playing Purdue and Michigan State every year. And then for a long stretch, there was Michigan every year. And then kind of in and out, there was Boston College every year. And now I always said that outside of USC and Michigan, all those other the rivalry air quote games meant more to the other teams than they meant to Notre Dame, because like every game can't be a rivalry for you. But when Notre Dame was playing USC and Michigan every year, which they were back in those Charlie Weiss and the early Brian Kelly years, and back to Tyrone Willingham and Bob Davie as well, both of those rivalries meant a lot. And I think you could make a case that maybe Michigan meant more, especially since all these rivalries become one-sided at some point. Right now, it's more tilted in Notre Dame's favor. There was a time when Pete Carroll was obviously around where it was more tilted in USC's favor. But I think that when you look at the 30,000-foot view and what it means to college football, we're losing too many rivalries. And this is one of the longest-running rivalries. Take out World War II in the COVID year, one of the longest-running rivalries in college football. And you need games like this. You need games like this to make college football, to help keep some uniqueness about college football. And it will absolutely be a shame if it goes away.
Well, it's like Trevor said, though, all the other rivalries that he named, if you're going to use those as the top 5, they're all regional. There's a reason recruiting stuff. There's always that little stuff. But then the Notre Dame USC, you're across the country. It means so much because that's almost how college football evolved, was by Notre Dame taking the train and going out there. They've played Michigan 44 times. I mean, that's a rivalry, and obviously they don't like each other, and it's fun when they play each other. It's not the rivalry that USC is. So if they were to lose this rivalry, I think that'd be very sad. So to fill in the blank, I think it's important. I think that it matters because not only does the game matter because they both need to have good out-of-conference, games, but it just matters for college football as a whole. And you don't have a lot of that, and more of it's going away. Like Texas A&M was a big rivalry, the Nebraska-Colorado rivalry, and you keep losing all of these big
Nebraska,
ones.
Oklahoma. Yeah.
I mean, Iowa State, Iowa, they're in different conferences. So you can lose so many, quintessential matchups that matter, that just are fun to watch as a fan, and it hurts. So I think it's just important to be my word for fill in the blank.
I just want to remind you then, the question was fill in the blank. The importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is blank. So you're saying the importance of the Notre Dame Southern Cal rivalry is important.
Well, I mean, I think you answered it in the question. I think it's needed. How about that?
Okay. The importance is needed.
Well,
okay.
This is why I like coming on with you,
it's
because
unrivaled.
You're just always so friendly.
It is.
I only,
Trevor, I want you to be the referee here. Who came in the door slinging rocks in this direction? See, Trevor's the younger brother right now. He doesn't want to step on anybody's toes.
The importance of the Notre Dame USC rivalry. It is.
Yeah, when you put it that way, it's bad. But we went off a path so far that I thought that we needed. I don't know.
I'm surprised, Bobby. You never take anything off the path. Yeah. Joseph in the YouTube chat asked, where does this game rank in terms of importance for Marcus Freeman? You want to take a stab at that, Bobby? You want a second chance?
I think it's important, the importance that Marcus Freeman's going to. No, and honestly, we talked about this a few weeks ago and things have gotten better because you asked, is there any chance by the end of the year Marcus Freeman could be on a hot seat? Based on stuff that we've seen at other colleges this year already, I think it's a 4 out of 10 important for Marcus Freeman to make sure he takes care of business, wins this, keeps them in the top 13, hopefully, maybe moving up, and their playoff hopes alive. I don't think he'll be on the hot seat the way things have turned around, but I do think it's at least somewhat important to him.
Like in the grand scheme of his career, I don't even know if I can put it in like the top 5, maybe top 10. But in terms of this season, it's extremely important. I mean, this is probably the last ranked opponent that you're going to face. This is potentially the last time that you play USC in the regular season. You got to make sure that Jules Shillelagh stays in South Bend for whenever until the next time you decide to beat them is. This season, the importance is like an 8 or a 9. Grand scheme of his career, it's like up there, but I can't say that this game is more important than, the first round of the playoffs, the quarterfinals of the playoffs, the semifinals, a national championship game, Ohio State in 2023. There's just a lot of different games that over the course of his career, but this season, it's extremely important.
For this season right now, it's a 10 out of 10 because every game is now at this point, because the next game you lose, you're not going to the playoffs now. And so in terms of chances to beat a ranked team, this obviously matters because this is likely to be the last ranked team you're going to face this year. Could end you might see a lot of 500 teams the rest of the way at best. So what this game means a month from now, even if they win, there's still a lot to be told there because just like happens a lot of time, Notre Dame has beaten teams at the time that they're ranked, but they don't end up ranked, down the road. So USC might not be ranked a month from now. They might fall out of the rankings if they lose to Notre Dame and never be ranked again this season. But as of this week, right now, it's a 10 out of 10 for Marcus Freeman because his team has to win this game to get to the playoffs, and it's the last chance to make any kind of statement to pick up a quality win the rest of the season.
We talk about a statement. Sorry, Trevor.
No, you're good, man. I was just about to say, and it's from a football standpoint, it's the last real test that you're going to get, if we're being honest. I mean, Pitt might be able to do some things against you. Boston College is a train wreck. Syracuse is shades of itself ever since Steve Angeli got hurt. Navy's a different kind of threat, but if Notre Dame's going to make the postseason, there's not a whole lot they're going to see against Navy that's going to prepare them to play Alabama. So from a football standpoint, this is also extremely important because Mekhi Lemon is a good litmus test for your nickel corner and for your secondary. So is Jacoby Lane and Lake McCree and Tanuk Hines. And there's a lot of players that will give you a good gauge of where your secondary truly is at. You're not going to get that against, Boston College or Syracuse or definitely not Navy. Stanford.
Yeah, and definitely not Navy. No, plus this game that you're talking about, not only is it the last time you can see that, it's on national television, prime time. There's not a huge slate of games this weekend that's really appealing. So, Notre Dame's going to get a lot of eyeballs on them to see what they do against their rival, against a ranked USC team. I think it's important. And within the season over his overall coaching career are two different things to me. I think overall his coaching so far at Notre Dame, I don't think it's super important. That's why I put the number low.
Yeah, exactly. Like in terms
Trevor
of overall
said,
importance,
Trevor said,
ND Forever 72 in the YouTube chat says not nearly as important as those 3 games he's played against his alma mater. His alma mater, of course, being Ohio State. Those were much more important. But for this season, this one has a lot of importance. And by the way, it just dawned on me that we're talking about rivalry and series going away and all that different stuff. And never once did any of us bring up Stanford, who, we've been trying to be sold on as some kind of rivalry. And it's probably going away as well. But no one is shedding many tears about the possibility that Stanford could go away. And who knows if it'll ever come back.
No, I mean, is it a rivalry when one side dominates by so much? That's always the question.
I mean, is it a rivalry? Question mark. Period. That's the real question. Yeah,
it's like when I used to play NCAA football. They always had the rivalries listed for every team, and every team had Notre Dame listed. It felt like, but Notre Dame only had a few: Michigan, USC, Purdue. And it's kind of the same thing with Stanford. It's not really a rivalry for Notre Dame. It was always a recruiting visit to go out there at the end of the year. And that the way they did it was every other year. Then in October, they'd allow Stanford almost to come get beat in October in Notre Dame Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, rivalry. It was a rivalry from 2010 to 2015. It was very short-lived. It was a flash in the pan.
The Toby Gerhart era.
Yeah, basically
I still
the Jim
didn't
Harbaugh
consider it a rivalry. It was just a good team on Notre Dame's schedule that they happened to play.
Sure. Notre
Dame Stanford has just never had a true rivalry feel. I mean, ask the people in Palo Alto. They still couldn't pack the stadium, even when Notre Dame was out there and even when Stanford was good.
Well, it's like they said in the chat, though. Is Navy a rivalry?
Yeah. Do we have to go down every road here?
No. I was just saying I saw it in the chat. Someone said it. So
I mean, it's a rivalry, but it's a different kind of rivalry.
But
But it's also, as Trevor brought up earlier in the show, okay, it's the mutual respect game. Exactly. Now we've got to sing everybody's alma mater after the game. Let's just hate each other and try to bloody each other's nose. Like, does it need to be more than that? I don't think it does.
Sean, are you and I rivals?
We're something.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. I can live with that.
Elmer Layden in the chat says, how much does Chad Bowden's shade going to play a factor in Freeman trying to destroy Southern Cal? Marcus Freeman, Trevor, very artfully, dodged any Chad Bowden shade at his press conference when he talked about that. The question was more about recruiting. I don't think Chad Bowden, it's another layer to this because of the fact that Bowden was here and that he went to USC and he has thrown some shade around, but I don't think that him being there makes Marcus Freeman want to win this game any more than he already would. Do you
want him to win it anymore? No. Do I think it's going to dictate how they win this game? I do. Marcus Freeman has shown that he handles things in between the white lines and when there's still time left on the clock. And I could see this being a scenario where Marcus Freeman doesn't run up the score, but it puts it well enough in doubt where he's able to try to play some backups and really show Chad Bowden what it means to be a head coach that cares about recruiting. It's not his being there. It's some of his comments that he made afterwards.
Right. Exactly.
Is what I think is going to play a factor here.
It's always a weird look, too, when somebody leaves for your arch rival. Because, again, I'm not going down the road, Sean. But like to leave for that specific spot, you know what you're doing. There's got to be underlying, especially when you know the schedule is going to come. You know what's going to be on there next year. He knew what he was doing.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you know what's coming in the near future. Maybe he did it on purpose to try to spark the rivalry again. But I mean, in all seriousness, I mean, you leave and then he talks about there's no place he'd rather be. And it's nice to, be with a head coach that values recruiting as much as Lincoln Riley.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, guy. Okay.
Yeah. It makes me question what his process was when he was here anyway. Good for you. Go away.
We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we've got a lot more rapid fire topics coming up. I want to make sure that we don't run short of time. We've got so many still to come with Trevor Trowbridge and Bobby Hensley, Sean Stires, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat, IrishBreakdown.com, and Rapid Fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. Rapid Fire in Hour 2 with Trevor Trowbridge and Bobby Hensley. Sean Stires, fill in the blank, my friends. Notre Dame women's basketball player Hannah Hidalgo being named the ACC Preseason Player of the Year today is blank.
I would say well-deserved.
Okay.
She had a great year last year. She's
looking at the stunned looks on everyone's faces as I asked the question.
I always just let Trevor go first. I'm always ready to talk. You know that.
Go for it.
I think she had a great year last year. She's shown herself to be one of the biggest talents in the game. If you were to talk about the biggest stars of women's college basketball at this point, I think she's got to be up there. Juju's out for the year. Caitlin Clark's gone. Paige Beckers is gone. She's going to be the one that's going to have to put the game on her back. I think it's well-deserved. I think she's a star.
Yeah, I mean, I would say well-deserved as well. I mean, we're talking about a player in her career. I mean, she's averaged 23.8 points per game last season, 22.6 as a true freshman. Like, she's a dog. She is definitely a bucket. So I think it's very well-deserved.
I did my ACC ballot the other day. They send out the ballots. They sent them out last week, and we had to have them turned in by it's actually noon yesterday. I think I got mine in Sunday night. But she is not – Hidalgo is the obvious choice for player of the year. One, she won like the end of season player of the year as a sophomore last year. So, I mean, she's the obvious front runner this year. But what struck me in doing my ballot, because they give you this list of all the potential players that you can vote for, they narrow it down. Each team nominates who they think could be a candidate. What struck me is the gap between Hannah Hidalgo and the next closest player behind her. There is no competition going into the season for player of the year, because Zoe Brooks from NC State ended up getting the second most votes. She was first team all ACC last year, but Hidalgo was player of the year, which means she got the most votes. Zoe Brooks was number 11 on the list. That means players 2 through 10 all gone this year. So, like, there is a pretty wide gap between Hannah Hidalgo and Zoe Brooks at number 2 as the runner-up for player of the year going into the season. And that matters because a lot of people are rightfully wondering, well, how good is Notre Dame going to be this year, especially on the national scene? But I think when you look at the conference race itself, Notre Dame's got the best player in the conference. The gap between the best player and number 2 is very wide going into the season. It's like the gap between NFL and ACC officiating, quite honestly. Notre Dame's picked to finish 5th in the ACC going into the season by the same people who voted for player of the year. And I think that Notre Dame is going to outperform that, even though, they didn't add all these high-profile players in the transfer portal and that kind of thing. I think they're going to outperform that 5th place pick because you've got far and away the best player in the conference in Hannah Hidalgo going into the season.
Yeah, so I guess you're asking what importance or how much does your star player carry you when she's that caliber is what you're saying, because they're 15th. The AP poll came out today and they were 15th. So do you think that's fair? Do you think they should be higher, lower? Because all we really know about this whole team is that she's really, really good, and we have a bunch of new players around her to see how they all gel together.
Right. And, again, part of my point is, look, we looked at the turnover that this Notre Dame women's basketball team had. You lose Olivia Miles. You lose Sonia Citron. You lose Maddie Westbeld. Well, again, look at all the other top teams in the ACC from a year ago. They've obviously lost a lot as well. All of the rest of the best players in the conference, they're all gone. And so, again, Zoe Brooks is a good player for NC State, but she is not Hannah Hidalgo, and she's not a lot of these other players, who are also gone. And Robin is asking if the women can challenge for the ACC this year. I absolutely think that they'll be able to because of what I'm talking about. You've got far and away the best player in the conference. There's a good supporting cast around her. Again, it's not Miles and Citron, but I think a lot of these players, as this season goes on, they're going to grow into their roles. They're going to continue to focus on defense. They're going to continue to focus on running. And Hannah Hidalgo's ultimately, I'll be shocked if she doesn't average around 30 points a game this year. And, she's the ACC's defensive player of the year the last 2 years as well. And I absolutely think that they're going to be able to challenge for the ACC regular season this year.
It's interesting to me that they're ahead of TCU in the polls, which is fun to see by 2 spots because of Olivia Miles transfer location. But we'll find out pretty early in the year when they play Michigan in the non-conference schedule.
Yeah.
Sean, do you think that the women's basketball team, do you think they could benefit a little bit from the addition by subtraction? Because the caveat to having so many stars on your team, like with a Hannah Hidalgo and Olivia Miles and a Maddie Westbeld and a Sonia Citron, is a lot of mouths to feed and keep happy. So do you think that they can benefit a little bit from addition by subtraction? It's never good to lose a talented player, but flow of the offense, do you think it could be a little bit better?
I'm really curious to see what the flow of the offense is going to look like this year, because even though Hannah is obviously a point guard, she is, like she's more Allen Iverson than John Stockton, like she's looking to score, just as much, if not more so, like she can run the offense, but this offense is going to look a lot because you don't have Citron and Westbeld for one thing, because like her first season, she didn't have Olivia Miles as well. I understand what you're asking, but that's a lot of talent to lose,
That's a lot of subtraction.
Yeah. That's like a little, like I think you could make that case because of, maybe an obvious personality, difference, with those two players that was, pretty widely blown up in the offseason. You can make a case with that, but Sonia Citron, she deserved to be the rookie of the year in the WNBA, even though she wasn't the rookie of the year in the WNBA, because honestly, her name just wasn't big enough coming out of here, because, she was more than willing to kind of play second or third fiddle.
Well, if she had gone Jennifer Hudson, maybe she could have got rookie of the year. Citron deserved it for sure. She definitely came out hot in the WNBA, and you look at that and you look back at her college career, she just wasn't the dominant personality, but she was good on the court. Maybe even the number 2 on the team, you would say.
Fill in the blank. Tyler Buckner's fake punt 4th down conversion against NC State was blank.
That was cool. I mean, look, I'm going to say something that's probably not going to land.
The ever impressed Trevor Trowbridge.
Yep.
He is cool. Trevor's cool.
I do what I can. I'm trying to be like Bobby. Look.
Oh, wow. That's fine.
And Sean, I'm trying to be like both. Oh, boy. Yeah. I'm backing myself into a corner here.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that.
Look. I'm going to say something that is probably not going to be as popular with some people, but I think that there is still a portion of Notre Dame's fan base that remembers Tyler Buckner for who he was in 2022, 2021. And to a degree, I understand that. Is it cool? Sure. But I get so many questions. We get so many questions on Irish Breakdown about, is there going to be a Tyler Buckner package? Is he going to be the emergency quarterback? Is Tyler Buckner going to do this? Can Tyler Buckner do that? And it's like, look, man, respectfully, he left. He transferred out. He came back, took his lumps, and I'm happy to see that they found a role for him on this team. But anytime he does something remotely impactful, I'm not going to jump out of my chair for joy. That's just not me. Was it cool? Yeah, it was a cool fake punt. But, that's not going to then lead me to and now there has to be a Tyler Buckner package on 4th down, and there should be one on the goal line, and they should have a 2-minute package for him just in case they want to run the ball more. It was cool.
See, I go back and forth. It's a nice moment, but is it redemption because of that failed extra point, or is it a finale? Because this is probably the last time he makes a statement this season. Because like what you said, why would you have a package for him? He's not on the depth chart, really. They're set at quarterback. They don't need him. He's a special teams player. To even talk about a special teams player, it's almost, Trevor kind of he said, oh, remember, we remember him for his potential, but he never lived up to it. That's why he left. Coming back and taking his lumps, that's nice. It's a nice moment, but it's redemption from the extra point, but a nice finale, because that's hopefully the last time we're talking about him this season.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be the last time we're talking about him this season. I don't think it needs to be. I mean, but this is the kind of role he can have, because a few weeks ago, Gino Guidugli was asked about Buckner splitting his time, with the quarterbacks at practice and being over there with the special teams. And what he said was he spends most of his time with the special teams, doing stuff with them. And that's a great place for him because of what Trevor said. you should not expect any more from Tyler Buchner than this kind of stuff. Maybe he pops up from time to time as a guy who can do this kind of thing, run a fake, or, he's the holder on special teams. Maybe he pops up, throws a little pass, again, a fake type thing. It lets Gino Guidugli get creative because you've got a great athlete back there as your holder. And he can also, by the way, he can run for a first down every now and then. He maybe can throw you something every now and then, but don't expect any more than that. Like this kind of stuff, like if there's a Tyler Buchner package, this is it. It's being a guy who can run a fake or two, because he used to be a scholarship quarterback a few years back, but that's not what he is now. He's a walk-on quarterback who is an emergency quarterback. He's not going to go out there and do anything more than that at this point in his career. And that's great. So I'm glad that he got a little bit of redemption because of what happened earlier in the season. Just stay locked in and focused on catching that ball and putting it down. Catch the placement, put it down, let the kicker kick the field goal and the extra point.
Cowboys never had a problem with that in the playoffs.
Oh no, never.
No, it's nice to
and
have
he wasn't compared to Tony Romo at all when that happened.
It's nice that they have an athlete back there, but depending on the situation, if you're going to do a fourth down play or do some play that you want yards, I'd still rather have the A team out there or have a different holder. Maybe you could train Mechie in it. I don't know, but it's nice that he had that moment to redemption.
Marcus Tenman in the YouTube chat started talking about some Notre Dame men's basketball. He said Shrews is not the answer. Trevor covers the men's side more than I do. I mean, this is year 3 now for Micah Shrewsbury, and he's got a great recruiting class. He's got obviously some experience, but you've taken some lumps the first couple of years. This is the year we're really truly going to find out about what Micah Shrewsbury has to offer for Notre Dame men's basketball, I think. Don't you, Trevor?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the first top 10 recruiting class that Notre Dame has brought in basketball in the last 20 years. I mean, this is a really good recruiting class. And look, let's not forget the situation that he took over was terrible. I mean, you had JJ Starling transferred out, after Mike Bray stepped away from the program, was asked to leave, whatever, how that went down. And then at some point, you also have to look at, look, sometimes it is about the Jimmies and the Joes, especially with college basketball. And I look at that team last year, and it's your number one scorer on the team is 5'11", and his strength was finishing at the rim. There's just some things that you can't just chalk up to, oh, he's not the answer, coach. I'm not saying he is the definitive answer. We're going to find out a lot this year. You bring in Jalen Harrelson and Ryder Frost. You made some impact pickups in the transfer portal. Marcus Burton comes back. So all the signs are pointing in that direction. But look, Notre Dame can't be in a spot to where they're starting guy Matt Alacco can't be your primary number 3 guard.
Exactly.
He's a great complementary piece, but he's somebody that needs to come off the bench and provide that spark and play great defense and knock down a couple threes and then jog right back off the court once Jalen Harrelson or players like that kind of get a breather. He can't be Notre Dame's basketball season's in trouble because, Matt Alacco was hurt. And that's the situation they were in the last couple seasons. And so,
Okay, then what do you expect for Shrewsbury to have a successful year? Where do they need to finish in the ACC?
They need to make a run in the ACC tournament and be a bubble team.
Yeah, I think if you're 500 in the ACC and you make a little run, like Trevor said, in the ACC tournament, they're an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah,
and that's good for Shrewsbury. I'm saying that would be a successful year to build on.
Get to the tournament this year. That's a successful season. And I think that
they're capable, is what you're
very
saying.
Minimally have to be very, very minimally have to be on the bubble for the NCAA tournament. But our eyeballs are going to tell us, this needs to be a season where they make a considerable leap, because like Trevor talked about, you've got Jalen Harrelson coming in and you add him to Marcus Burton, and Braden Shrewsbury is now a junior along with Burton. It should look a lot different because there's going to be a lot more talent on this team. He had to cobble together a team in his first season, with what he was stuck with and what he went out and got, what he was able to go out and do right away. I think we all expected that last year was going to be at least a little bit more successful than what it was. But now, again, he's got a great balance of young talent coming in the door, starting with Harrelson, and some veteran guys who have been in the program for a few years. So there needs to be a considerable step up this year. I think he knows that. I think everybody watching it expects that.
Right. And it's important that they're capable of it with all the talent they're bringing in. If you were already a bubble team last year, you would expect even more this year. So it's kind of interesting to see what will happen.
Let's take our final time out and then back to wrap up rapid fire with more football questions. We're going to venture into James Franklin territory. Coming up next, Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com and Rapid Fire. Yeah. More rapid fire. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Trevor's having a good time over there.
I just wasn't expecting that opening. I said, oh, yeah. Oh, that's ready. So good.
He's ready. He's ready to go now. We got him fired up with some Notre Dame men's basketball talk. They've got an exhibition game coming up next
Friday.
Week.
Sure do.
Next week, right? 24th?
Mm-hmm.
A week from Friday.
Oh.
Come on, Bobby.
Well, you told me Friday when I texted you earlier today. So I'll put that one on you.
Oh, no, it is this week. It is this week.
Oh, come on, Sean.
You're right. I've got my times. I've got my dates
17th
messed up. That's right. We're going to have a little bit of a short rapid fire on Friday because of the fact that we've got a men's basketball exhibition game. It's this week. I got a lot of dates floating around in my head with all these different things going on. So, well, hold it. Maybe I don't know, man. We'll get it figured out. So both Marcus Freeman and Al Golden's names have come up as options to replace James Franklin at Penn State. Which of those two is a more realistic option for that job?
I mean, between the two, like, I guess Al Golden, and you can put him in the same conversation as Coach Klein from The Waterboy and Jimmy McGinty from The Replacements and Eric Taylor from Friday Night Lights. I mean, look, man, Al Golden left Notre Dame to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, 1, to get back to the NFL, and 2, to move back closer to his family. Like, during his entire time at Notre Dame, his family still lived in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And with all due respect, as much as Penn State fans don't want to hear this, Marcus Freeman's not going to Happy Valley. That'd be a step back. I said what I said. And so I just don't understand. Look, any major
there are
coaching,
a lot of other, quote, like big time air quote programs where it would be a step back from what he's got at Notre Dame.
Right? Yeah.
Because he has a lot of things working in his favor here at Notre Dame.
Yeah, the only place I could see him going would be Ohio State, and that's not going to be open for him. Al Golden, I think that's nice. He has a Penn State tie. He doesn't have a long time in Cincinnati, so I guess if it's between those two, you have to pick him. But, I mean, Matt Rule's probably going to be the guy that ends up taking it, so I don't think it's going to be Freeman or Golden going either.
Well, there's a good chance he's going to be offered it. The question will be, does he take it? I think that there's a lot more steps, but
it's interesting what Trevor said too. Like, what is the importance of the Penn State job? Where does that rank nationally as a lucrative job that people want to go to?
I think it's still a high profile job. I think it's still a very desired job. It's, like there are a lot of benefits to being the head coach at Penn State. I mean, just look at what James Franklin did. James Franklin won a lot of football games at Penn State, and he put Penn State back on the map after it fell off the map with, in the post-Paterno-Sandusky scandal. Like, that was not a very desired job. I do think James Franklin has made it a very desirable job again. The problem is, obviously, he couldn't win the big enough games. He won 1 million games that he was supposed to win. He won a lot of games, virtually all of the games that he was not favored in. And at the end of the day, he finished by losing games that he was supposed to win. And when you have a clash with your boss, that obviously doesn't curry much favor, and he was shown the door. But I think it is a very desirable job still, because there are a lot of resources that are going into the Penn State football program that aren't going into some other places. Like, between USC and Penn State has invested a lot more in their football program in recent years than USC, and USC finally recognized that, and they're trying to play catch up now to get to where Penn State is, quite frankly.
Yeah, I mean, the way that I look at it from a resume standpoint, because the stuff that unfolded, and it's not all like, and it's not all alike. But James Franklin to Penn State is what Brian Kelly was to Notre Dame. I mean,
exactly.
Notre Dame coming out of the Charlie Weiss era was just in a bad way. And in 3 years, Brian Kelly, had him playing for a national championship game. He helped update the facilities and all those things. But then Marcus Freeman is the one that really took it off. And so Penn State's going to look for some type of hire in that way. The thing that I always have to remind people, because anytime there's a big time coach opening, whether it's the NFL or whether it's somewhere in college football, Marcus Freeman's name always gets brought up. Why? Because it attracts clicks to whatever articles are written. Like, it's not going to draw a whole lot of clicks.
It attracts clicks, but he is also a very desirable. Like, I think Marcus Freeman's name is going to come up with every high-profile job that comes open.
Oh, 100%. Just like Nick Saban's name will be. Just like Urban Meyer's name will be. Just like, there's very few coaches that don't get brought up in that ring. And it's, Kirby Smart's never brought up for those, but it's because of what he's done at Georgia. I mean, it's one of those things that I just always expect to happen and don't put too much weight into, I guess.
Yeah, it's like John Gruden's name gets brought up still
from
time to time. It's just for clicks. Which a more desirable job, though, if it were to become available, Penn State or Florida State? Because they're both kind of like where you're talking about Notre Dame being a few years ago. I think that they're both a tier down than they used to be.
I think right now they're kind of on the same level. I think that they're still both
equity
desirable jobs, but they're not Ohio State. They're not Alabama. They're not Texas. They're not Notre Dame. I think that they're not even Georgia at this point. And I would honestly put Clemson probably about on the same level as them. Has Clemson won a national championship more recently? Yes, but Penn State, Clemson, Tallahassee, Florida State, in terms of where they are in proximity to big cities and what's close by and all that kind of stuff, they're all relatively the same. And in terms of facilities and things like that, I know Penn State has got a major facility upgrade going on right now. I'm not sure what's going on at the other two. So I think that they're all fairly similar.
Yeah. Penn State, it's just so tough because they've kind of been the little brother in the Big Ten for so long. And their last national championship was 2 years before Notre Dame's. At least Florida State won one in 2013, but Penn State made the playoffs last year, lost to the comparable team that they played. But I don't think Penn State is a tier 1 attractive job. But to Sean's point, I do think it is significantly more attractive than what it was when James Franklin took it over.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the Big Ten, it's Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State. Like, those are the 3 flagship programs of the Big Ten. I guess maybe you Oregon. I was getting ready to say you can put Oregon in there as well, but what has Oregon ultimately done that Penn State hasn't? Like, they played each other. Like, I guess you can say they won a Big Ten championship, but what? Yeah, but what did that matter? Like, they both went to the college football playoff. Neither one of them, like Penn State advanced just as far as Oregon last year. That's part of the benefit of the 12-team playoff. I mean, I realize you don't like Penn State, Trevor, but you can't deny in terms of the national landscape what they are right now.
I mean, I guess I'm questioning it. I don't think that I just know they're not tier 1, but I'd put USC above them, Oregon above them as attractive jobs if they were available. I just think they're a nice top 25 team because they have not proven to be better than some of the teams that are in them. Look how IU's passed them in the Big Ten the last couple of years. I know it's a short time period, but Cignetti has more wins against high-ranked teams than Franklin did at Penn State.
We got 1 minute, so I'm going to let Trevor finish with any thoughts that he wants to hit before we go.
Yeah, I mean, am I Penn State's biggest fan? No, but it's also not to discredit. Their resume is not impressive. It's like you get 10 wins a season, but neither of those wins came against Ohio State or Michigan.
Right. But again, their resume is also, as you said, and I completely agree with, it's also not that different than what Brian Kelly's resume was when he was at Notre Dame. So I think if you're Penn State, you're thinking, like Notre Dame, you get the right guy that takes you to the next level. Like actually competing in those games against other top teams and winning those games.
100%.
Championships. All right, we got to wrap it up with that. I wish we had more time, but we won't. We will, the 3 of us, reconvene on Thursday. We've got Wake Up the Echoes coming up next here on WSBT. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.